Welcome back, friends, to another Doom mixtape. This one's going to be pretty short, so for the next several videos, I'm probably going to play stuff by, I would consider, like, kind of no-name people who haven't done much with Doom, just because I think it's an interesting way to highlight specific maps or map creators that no one is likely to talk about because they've only made a few things. And this is a map that I'm kind of fascinated by. So this is from a WAD named Nova the Birth. And the intention was to, the map, by the way, is called Sensorium. The intention of this set was to be a megawad for new Doom map creators. And and the person who started it was new to mapping, who is the person who made this map called Kildeth, aka Michael Kilderry, I think Australian. But he's only made a few maps for this set, a couple maps for this set, and then a section of the last map. But yeah, so you'd think that this megawad, it would be kind of like not that interesting because it's like new Doom mappers, but it's actually like maybe it's one of the better megawads, I'd say, of the last 10 years. And I think it has an interesting charm to it in that it starts out very kind of unassuming, and then it just ramps up and ramps up more. And I would say this map is kind of interesting in how it reflects that. But when I actually streamed this, so the first two, I don't know if this was the very first map by the creator Kildeth, but these very first two rooms seem very like my first map to me, with the upside down crosses and just the intro area. But then it quickly picks up from there and gets stranger. So apparently somebody else named Always Doomed worked on this map. I don't know if they finished some element of it. So yeah, this project was directed by Kildeth, and then he left at some point. And I think that was the entirety of his involvement with the Doom community. And then Dobu Gabu Maru, who I've talked about before, took it over and finished the set. And then there's been another couple Nova the Birth sets after this, because the first one ended up being successful. But this map always kind of stuck out to me as being really particularly strange and interesting. And just because it has like an approach to it that it's hard to describe. Yeah, and it really centers around this room that I'm going into now. I'm trying to dive into a teleporter. So there's this very oddly shaped room. It's like very organic, like claws, tree-like. And there's a spider mastermind right there. And but there are these teleporters, and you can't approach the teleporters from the bottom. You have to fall onto them. And the kind of funny thing is I don't think you actually need to go into any of the teleporters to beat the level, although I didn't know that when I played it. And there's just a lot of strange things with progression. Like back in that second room that I was in with the upside down crosses, you could dive into that area immediately. And if you're very perceptive, you could do a weird jump, which you saw me doing with effort. Spending a lot of effort trying to do to teleport into that place where I picked up a plasma rifle, and then I teleported again to pick up a super shotgun, so that puts me at an advantage. This map is interesting. It's not very big. It's just a collection of a few rooms. There's only like 80 monsters. It is kind of difficult, but once you've there are a few difficult sections because there's a cyber demon and there's a spider mastermind, but once you've cleared it out, it's pretty much it. It's just like one of these maps that it just doesn't feel like anything else. Like that central area with the spider mastermind and the weird, tentacle claw branch-like details it reminds me of something like Alt, but just the design of this map, it's not elegant. There are just a lot of weird rooms that are kind of smashed together, and you can enter and exit them through various ways. Here, you can pick up the blue key. You don't have to do much to beat this level. I picked up the blue key. All I have to do is go back to the Spider Mastermind room, kill him, hit a switch, and then fall into a teleporter, and then I can exit. But I'm obviously going to spend a lot more time on this map, just like exploring around. And you don't know that when you first play through it. This map seemed a lot bigger to me when I first played through it. I think that's the interesting thing, the most like fascinating designers or you know, whatever, for me, are the people who do one or only a few things and then never make anything else. And the one or a few things that they make are just so unique and interesting. I think my favorite example of that is that map, The Silos, from Memento Mori 2, which I've talked about, by Paul Noble. Like, he made 2 maps, I think, maybe 1 or 2 other things, like, but, you know, very little, and, you know, hasn't done anything else. Is not somebody who presumably went into the game industry or anything like that, and, you know, why would you? Even back then, you know, in the 90s, like, you know, most people didn't end up going to the industry or anything like that, but it's just like, it's interesting how people who are amateurs, who, you know, may not have any other perspective on even game design or anything like that, can make something that's totally unique and unlike anything else. There's like a lower level here. There's like these teleporters that put you up to a higher level, and there's like these little railways that you can walk along to get various secrets. There's also like just a lot about the structure of this doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of like very loose, I guess, kind of organic feeling in a way that rooms are kind of stacked on top of each other, and the progression is a little strange. And it's, like I said, it's a relatively small map. I'm not even sure why I guess because it's hell themed is the only reason it's late in the map set. It's like map 27, but there's only like 80 monsters. Yeah, this is the room that I'm talking about. The other really interesting room in this map, you can walk along these railings, and they're, you know, various sections divided off. But if you walk along the railing from various points, you can fall down and pick up, you know, extra ammo or health. And there's another secret where you can drop down. There's a lot of like drop down type secrets, which I don't know, maybe it's just me being a fan of like Mario or whatever. Like, but I like those kinds of secrets where you have to be very perceptive and, you know, try and suss out like what the environment is. And, you know, what it wants you to do, and see, like, okay, if that's a teleporter there, how do I fall down into it? And the fact that this central room presents you with these 5 teleporters makes you feel like, okay, I'm going to need to figure out a way to get into each of those. It just, yeah, and the details really make it work. It just, I don't know. I love unironic uses of that red brick Wolfenstein texture. There's something about it that it's just eerie to me. I don't know what it is. But yeah, the only one I can actually go through right now, because you can't go through them from below, is I can walk up the stairs to fall into this one. This is theoretically the only one that I would use if I were beating the level normally. I forgot that I didn't have a blue key because I died. But if I had the blue key, I could have gone through the door there and killed the spider mastermind, and that would have been it. So yeah, there's not much that... Like, other than that spider mastermind, you can avoid fighting a lot of the monsters. But this is going to be one of those things you play through the first time, seems a lot longer, because it's like, what are all these things? What are they in relation to each other? And even for me, maybe it's a flaw of mine. I have a feeling this map might have actually been incomplete if it was, it might have been finished by... Always Doomed, or maybe this Always Doomed person made a map and then Kildeth finished it. But I have played, you know, the other one map, which is also from this set, Nova the Birth, and then the section that he designed for map 30, the last map. So this is one of the secrets. You can drop down, and then you can see this puts me up here. I can walk along the railing and go to this area to pick up the ammo and a BFG, which is, you know, a big thing in this map when you have 2 boss monsters, because otherwise it's not really a conventional like arena type setting to fight them in. You know, it's a weird design of a level, so it's probably more exciting to fight them with the BFG anyway. But this map could have been incomplete and finished by somebody else or finished by him, but the section of map 30 of his that I played also feels kind of similar to this map, so I'm imagining that this is his own style. And I was kind of curious because I almost feel sad that I actually didn't look up, because most of the megawads that I play don't have map descriptions on the Doom Wiki, doomwiki.org website, where they list all the secrets and stuff, but this one happened to, and I missed a lot of the secrets, so I sadly didn't record myself getting every single one of them, although I did go to all those teleporters. But yeah, really right now I think that I have the blue key, but I need to pick it up. All I have to do is pick up that blue key. This is just something that like suggests at something much greater. Like it almost feels like the narrative components of something like Alt, except it's two smashed together and almost like slapdash, but in a way that is kind of unique. I don't know. Like I also, when I played map 30, I also really liked the section that this guy had designed because it felt weird. There was a lot of like chunky, I don't know, like just very chunky uses of textures that made it kind of surreal in a like I don't know. Maybe it's my like affection for Wolfenstein 3D too, or Wolfenstein 3D as well. But I like seeing those textures reused in a way. But it also makes something feel kind of surreal, like and cartoony, whereas like Doom tends to be grim dark, and I think that juxtaposition, it almost makes it like more disturbing. But it's one of those things where, like I looked on Doomworld to Kildeth's profile, and like he posted recently that he had a Twitch channel. I'll put a link in the description. It seems like he's speedrunning Tomb Raider or whatever. So there's maybe a little less mystery, when you just see like, oh, okay, this person's just on the internet. They're just like a normal person, whatever. But like when you don't really see someone develop their style in the way that like, a lot of, the more well-known creators do, but they seem to have something like that they're going for, that's very particular and very unique. It always just makes me fascinated on like what would they end up doing, and like I don't know. I think it'll be this case with maybe a couple of the other maps that I look at for this next is that sometimes I'll watch like someone streaming Doom because I don't really have time to play through everything. I'll just skip through, and see like, oh, do any of these maps look interesting? And I feel like half the time I'll watch somebody and they'll be like, oh, I really like this map, and I'll be like, oh, this seems tedious as hell. It's like they're killing like a billion archfiles or whatever. And then there are other times when they'll be like, oh, I don't like this map, it's too confusing or whatever, and I'll just be watching, I'll be like, oh, this is amazing, like what is this? Like I've never seen anything like this before. So I don't know. I think it's different priorities, but also like for me as somebody who's like definitely follows Doom but is not solely immersed in that community by any means, I'm just like looking for anything that sticks out or has a particularly unique style, and when there's one map or one creator that like really just stands out for some reason where you don't know why, it's like it makes things just kind of more fascinating. This actually reminds me a little bit of the it's less like developed, but it reminds me a little bit of that map from the Hazmat Hazama map from the Japanese community project, in that it's kind of like compact and has a bunch of different sections kind of smashed together, although this is more like consistently hell themed. But then this also has this whole teleporter section here, which is like I would like to imagine what each element of this map could be developed into further, like that whole organic teleporter section where you're like, the section that I was just in where you're walking on the different railings or whatever, like those are all ideas that could be used in different maps, and it's like if it were developed, it'd be a really interesting, I don't know, it just suggests something really interesting to me, particularly like this area right here, which I just love the way that this looks. Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's a thing that I'm always interested in. The there's several like Azamale maps, like map 13 of Alt, that also has these kind of like ghost teleporters that are mysteries that you have to fall down into. I don't think you have to fall down into those, but you go into, and it's not clear where they teleport you to, which is, usually when teleporters are presented in a map, you have one and it's clear that it's presenting you somewhere. It's not like laid out just oddly in the midst of this like very abstract room and placed in a very particular way to where it suggests to you, okay, well, you have to fall down to this in a very particular location in order to access this. But it's also kind of like taunting you with the fact that like you can't go into any of these normally, but then you sort of can with the stairway one, so it kind of gives you a little window in to be like, okay, this isn't just decorative, like I can actually go in these. I don't know, there's an interesting element of mystery that it's especially with the way that the room is detailed and laid out, that it really suggests, that I find really interesting. And I'd never actually seen anybody do this thing where they put a bunch of teleporters like that and you can't access any of them from the ground, so you have to find ways to get to them from above. It's like, I don't know, there are similar things like in Doom, the Citadel map in Doom 2, where there's like these 4 teleporters that teleport you to different corners of the map, but this isn't quite the same thing. It's much more abstract. So yeah, I'm really just trying to get into that last teleporter here, and oddly, it doesn't seem like you should be able to do it. It seems like it's just far enough away, but you can actually do it. I do it in just a second. It's useless to me right now, but but cool anyway. So yeah, there's just so much going on in this map, even though it's very short. A lot of like interesting ideas that I really wish were explored more. And I just like, when I played through, you can see my whole playthrough on my YouTube channel of the first Nova the Birth. It's one of the few things that I played through in full on there, other than like Alt and maybe one other thing. I think I didn't finish a playthrough of the Japanese community project, but it's just I think when I first played this, I was like, wow, this is so weird and interesting and different. It really stuck out to me, even in the midst of a set that has a lot of interesting. Another creator who didn't make anything else, named Evil Ned, made a bunch of good maps for this set. I don't know why it's sort of freezing here. Like I had almost no problems with the video like freezing while I was recording until this last screen. So anyway, so yeah, that was Sensorium by Kildeth and Always Doomed. Stay tuned in the future for more.